Hello, hello, and welcome, everyone. Happy New Year to everyone here in the She Network. My name is Taylor Thompson, and we're here live in the She Network, where we are sharing her excellence. And I have my beautiful special guest here that I'm about to introduce. But as you are coming on, let me know you're here. Give me your name, where you're coming in from. Would love to say hi, and give the acknowledgement from StreamYard so I can see who you are, because on this platform I can't see your name unless you give them permission to show your name inside this platform. So make sure you do that and let me know that you're here. So want to say hi to everyone. We are starting out 2020 here. I've got my beautiful friend, Miss Sylvia. Athey? Athey? Is that how you say your name?
Athey, Athey.
Athey? Okay, Athey, Athey. I never even asked that before. So I've always said Athey, and I really never asked that. So I apologize for that. So happy New Year to everyone. We're here getting our 2020 vision on. And I did a little watch party yesterday with you because your interview goes back in October, I think. And yeah. So you were one of the first ones that we did the live interview with, and so I wanted to refresh everybody's memory about your story and your background and where you came from, and amazing results that you had. And so anyway, ladies, I hope you get your pen and your papers out. I want you to take a lot of notes here because there's going to be so much value here that she's going to share with you. Make sure that you have notes, and we're going to get started. But she's going to be sharing with you how she went from basically, I don't know, like Sylvia, you're going to have to share this because I find this so amazing, such a great story, and how you manifested this and what you did. And so just give a little bit of refresher, like what you did and how you got to learn this piece and what you're going to do to share with them how they can implement it for 2020 and start their year off on fire.
Yes. Okay. Well, I'm really, really excited to share this because this is really my go-to. And once you learn this is something that you can implement forever. So it's like, having a tool in your tool belt. And I really attribute this one thing right here to not only me being able to manifest, the success and accomplishments that I've had, but also to really change the negative thought patterns that I was accustomed to living with. And so the really important thing is acknowledging and really stopping to take a look at, what are your beliefs? And I use the word paradigm, but essentially a paradigm is a thought, a belief. It kind of controls what you think and do in the background. And oftentimes we're not aware of that because it's really on an unconscious level because it's a belief. And, research and science and studies on the brain and things like that have shown that your unconscious mind, 80% of it is formed before you're 5 years old. So that's something that's very powerful in, thinking about why do you think the way that you think? Why do you believe the thoughts that you believe? And, you can really play that into thoughts of your own self-worth, thoughts that you have about money, thoughts that you have about successful people, and if you start to examine your thoughts, you will really uncover these strongholds that are playing a factor in your success. And a very easy way to break it down is, have you ever set a goal for yourself, or said, okay, I want to do this. I want to lose 5 pounds, or I want to lose 10 pounds, or I want to start going to the gym, or, I want to make $500 a month or $1,000 a month. And then what happens after you set that? Do you stay on fire? Do you stay on track? Or do you start to find yourself kind of making excuses, making reasons why it can't happen, looking for validation through other people that you can do this, you can get this. And if you really look at those and you find yourself saying like, oh yeah, I have given up in the past. I have let other people, talk me out of having this success. Chances are that's a paradigm. It's a paradigm inside of you. And the second that you set a goal for yourself, that paradigm's job is to tell you all the reasons why it won't work, it can't happen, and it's not for you. And so when you begin to identify those things, you can really clear out that clutter in your mind, and start to create new pathways for yourself. And this is really, really important when it comes to success. I didn't start my personal development or inner healing journey until I was about, I think, 31. And so I'm going to be 42 this year, and it took me a long time, even though like I was doing inner healing, I didn't realize that I had these really negative thoughts. I never really sat down to examine, what was going through my mind. And an example, like the Bible says, take captive of every thought, right?
Yeah.
And this is true in every area of your life. You have to stop and really quiet your mind and see what you're thinking. And the first time I ever did that, I realized how negative I was. And I was blown away because I was telling myself things like, you're a terrible mom. You're a horrible wife because I forgot to pay the electric bill on time, and these were running in the back of my head, and I had really no clue about it. So the second that I started to sit down, I was like, oh my gosh, I'm really a negative person.
Wow.
And I never viewed myself as that.
I want to say something right here because this is so true. I mean, for me, whenever I understood that you could think about what you were thinking about, I remember that was a mind blower for me. Yep. And I too, like what you were saying, like to whenever I got a hold of that scripture, take every thought captive, whenever I realized that I could think about what I was thinking about.
Yep.
And some people have never even had that conversation with themselves. They never even known that they should, evaluate what are the thoughts going in that they are allowing inside their brain. And that was a total game changer. Just that right there is a game changer for a lot of people. So I appreciate you sharing that because that can change everything just by knowing that piece right there.
Yep. Yeah. And, we don't learn these things, right? We don't know these things. We don't learn in school, like, hey, if the teacher says that you're a bad kid and you're in first grade, all of a sudden you take this on as like, oh my gosh, I'm not good. We don't realize that goes on to affect us because we adopt it as truth, right? The second part to that scripture is take every thought captive and submit it to Christ. Mm-hmm. And so whether you are a believer or not, it doesn't matter because you can still do those steps. You can still take every thought captive and submit it to your own self. Like, is this really true? Is this really true what I'm saying about myself? Is it really true that I'm not good or that I'm not worthy or that I can't accomplish this? And I feel like this is really a huge part to changing your life is you have to be willing to sit down and look at, what am I thinking? And then the second part, to that is like, it's going to take consistency because now you have to build a new platform, a new belief, and you get to choose essentially what you want to believe. And I've, trained my team before and really said, like, your thoughts are like magnets. They really, truly are. And each one attracts not only those results in your life, but they attract another thought pattern like that. They attract another either positive or negative belief. Right. And so at the end of the day, if you have a scale, what does your scale look like? Is your scale, full of positive, affirming, believing thoughts, or is your scale full of negative, diminishing, ugly words that you tell yourself? And And that's really powerful because you could have all the intentions in the world to be successful at anything. It doesn't matter what it is. But the second that you set that goal, the second that you tell yourself, I'm going to do this, if the thoughts that you tell yourself from that point forward do not line up with that goal, you'll never achieve the goal. You just won't. So that's kind of more.
Can I stop you right here just a minute, because I think this is so good, especially as we go into 2020, and so many times people set intentions or goals or New Year's resolutions. Maybe they do vision boards, maybe they do a goal setting kind of exercise. And I want you to think about this if you've already gone through this particular exercise this year, and then go, because I know that sometimes you go through the exercise and then you get through you get through the year and you're like, I didn't accomplish anything. Why is that? Or, I have this on my vision board. Oh, that doesn't work. So there could be the reasons why you're not moving forward. And I think what you're saying really plays into this whole paradigm shift of what you're talking about, because, people, I know back in the day, in the believer, Christian world, they called it the name it and claim it, right? They said things, or they spoke things or whatever, but it never really happened. And it made it kind of seem like weird and woo, but there's a reason for those things. And I think this all plays into exactly, setting your intentions, writing your goals, getting your vision. And this piece of what you're about to share really solidifies it in my mind. So This is awesome.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that especially, if you had traumas and things in your past, if you had things, because I just believe that even if you didn't have a traumatic childhood or things like that, like listening to your parents grow up and talk about things, and not that they're ill, not that they're intending to be ill harming, but a really good example is money doesn't grow on trees, right? Or rich people are evil, or things like that. And I've known people who literally that was a paradigm. And so they never wanted to make a lot of money because they thought that people who had a lot of money were evil and didn't do good,
Right.
And so another really cool example of that is when you get dressed in the morning, what leg do you put in your pants first? And who told you that, right? Why do you put your right leg or your left leg in your pants first? Because when you're a little baby and your mom is dressing you and she's saying, put your foot in, and you go to put one foot in, she says, no, not that foot, this foot. And it programs you, right? And so your environment has caused you to, to condition to have these certain beliefs or thoughts or patterns or anything like that. And so I think that if you identify today after hearing what I have to say, this is an excellent, excellent way. And if you're consistent with it, it will absolutely help you change your life. For me, I had a very traumatic childhood, lots and lots and lots of abuse. And so it took me quite some time. I really had to do the inner healing. I had to hire coaches. I had to go to seminars and things that were all revolved around changing your mind, because those were so deeply ingrained in me that it was like, even though I would have a revelation, it was, I would find myself going back and it would still be like, okay, wait. But now I was more aware of it, right? Because you're not aware of something that you don't know. So when I began to become aware of it, then I could change it. I could say, wait a second, that's not the truth. That is that thought, paradigm, belief, trying to take me out. And you have to actively pursue fighting against it. You have to actively continue to change it. And so those are the tools that I'm gonna go into right now, if you're ready.
Yeah, let's do it.
So I love this. This is something that I love to do, and I literally am like a notebook junkie. So I have probably, I kid you not, like 30 different notebooks. I pick them up from Ross, Marshalls, anywhere that I'm out. I'm like, ooh, another one. And this has been a really big part of me changing my life and changing my thought patterns. And then my second, like really I love is sticky notes. So I know we had mentioned in the post yesterday, and I invite you to follow along with me just to kind of practice right now. If you don't have sticky notes, that's okay, but you could write it on even a piece of paper, because writing things out is very, very powerful. It's almost as if once you do it, you're bringing life to these new things, right? Speaking things out, very, very powerful. And so the first step into changing your beliefs, we kind of talked about, is acknowledging, thinking about it. And some of you might have to, really spend some time on this, just sitting down and saying, okay, what is some things I believe? And some of you right now might be like, oh my gosh, I see where in my life I think this immediately. And so what I do, and what I have people do, I've coached through this, is you take a sticky note or a piece of paper and you start writing down, what are the negative thoughts that you have? What are the negative beliefs that you have? And just write as many that come to your mind. For me, a lot of the things had to do with self-worth. And so a lot of my things were like, I'm not worthy. I'm not capable. Nobody likes me. I can't grow my social media. And so you're going to write out just whatever, and it could just even be a word, it could be stupid. It could be unlovable, like whatever it is that's in your mind, you're going to write those negative thoughts and beliefs on a piece of paper. And when you get all of those written out, you're going to examine, you're going to look at each one of those. You're going to go back through and you're going to say, okay, unlovable. Is that really the truth? Am I really an unlovable person? Am I really that ugly? And really, when you start to ask yourself these questions, you're like, wait a second. No, like I'm fun, I'm caring, I'm giving. And I don't know if people can post, maybe if somebody wants to share, please feel free, like in the comments, if you're feeling up to sharing, share some of these negative thoughts that you have, and then I can kind of help walk you through that. So,
and I want this right here, right? I mean, like, I can't really stress this enough. This piece right here, because it's so foundational in breaking free of bad habits. And the way you first of all, the way you think about yourself, because if you're thinking about that about you, that's what you're projecting. So that is the thought magnet, right? Mm-hmm. And there's so many times that people don't realize that the lies they believe about themselves, they don't realize, they're not stopping to take inventory of their own thoughts and the lies that they believe about themselves that are holding them captive to the past. And so, I think that this programming piece of what you're talking about is so profound, because the environment that you've been raised in, and if you've been told, you're not good enough, or you're fat, or the things that you believe with your parents, you're never going to grow up to be anything, you're never going to amount to anything, all of those things, that the words that have been spoken over you that have basically cursed your life, right? That you start owning those words. And so this piece right here is so foundational. So, I mean, please, if you're on and you're watching this, take the moments and take the time to do this exercise. It's really good. Thank you for sharing, Marilyn. Yeah, I mean, you put things off. Procrastination, that's a huge, huge one that even I have a bad habit of.
Yeah. And so, like, for example, with the I put things off, and some of these things that you identify, you might be like, but I actually do these things, right? Like, and so you might be wondering, like, well, how am I supposed to, write something different or opposite of that? And so I'm going to use Marilyn's example. I put things off. So what your new affirmation could be, Marilyn, is, I am working consistently at getting things done in a timely manner. Mm. And you start with that, because now you're starting to implement, like, because if you tell yourself every day, I put things off all the time. That's all. Oh my gosh. And you're kind of running that program in your mind, right? So first of all, you're speaking that into existence. You're declaring that you put things off. And so let's just say you have full intentions of getting something done. That little voice in the very small back of your head, who's very quiet, who really knows how to run and get under your skin and get you doing what he wants you to do, is saying, you're not going to do that. You put things off. You don't ever get things done on time. And it's not a loud voice that you're going to hear because you're busy. You got kids, you got a job, you got things that you're doing. And so we just go on living with these little thoughts and voices and, things. Not that when I say voices, it's like you really do have, everybody has voices. It's not that we're crazy. It's a very small, still voice that we don't hear, right? And so we're proclaiming these things. We're declaring these things. And your words give life or death. They really, truly do. Your words have power. They have so much power. And if more people understood truly the power of their words and the power of what they speak, like, worlds and things would be changed. Lives would be changed, and if more people understood this also while raising their children, right? What would our new generations be like? Because kids would be empowered to believe that they're amazing and that they're incredible, and they wouldn't be shut down when they have these ideas of like, oh my gosh, I want to do that. Oh, you can never do that. You could never do that. That was told to me for so long, like, you could never do that. Oh, that's not possible. And that's really defeating, and it makes you think like, well, why should I even try then? They're right. I can't do that. So, writing out all of these negative thoughts and getting them on paper is the first thing. And now once you have them written out, you're asking yourself, is this really the truth? And I want you to write out the opposite. And even if you don't believe what the truth is, because for me, I really truly believed I wasn't lovable. I really truly believed with every fiber of my being that I was not worthy. And so it was very difficult for me at first to write out like, oh, I'm lovable and I am worthy, because inside of me, I just didn't believe it. But you have to write it anyways. You have to start speaking and changing that, because the only way that paradigm is ever going to shift is for you to start drowning it out with the truth. Mm-hmm. For you to start really just pouring a flood on that, and changing that thought pattern to when then you start to begin to see like, oh, wait a second, I can do this. I can make it possible.
Now, and isn't it true? I mean, maybe you can speak to this too, that writing it out, because some people go, why do I need to write it out? There is a, what is it called? Reticular, REA, reticular
activating. Well, I've heard it called as RAS. So yes. Reticular activating system.
Yes, yes.
And the second that you start to, put things out there and write them out or speak them out, all of a sudden you start to see things around you that affirm to you those beliefs and patterns. And, really way to do that is if you, let's just say there's a car that you really, really want to get. When you start really like manifesting that, like, oh my gosh, I'm dreaming, I'm sitting in the car, you go actually test drive the car, pretty soon you will start to see that car everywhere. Like out of the nowhere, at the stoplight, you'll be like, oh my gosh, there's my car. And the flip side to that is a lot of times if we're not checking these paradigms and thoughts, have you ever done this, like, let's just say you see somebody who's fit and you're like, oh man, she's so stupid. Like you're in your mind, you're like talking trash about this person. That's because like, even though you want that lifestyle, you want that body, you don't think that you can have it. And so you're downgrading it. You're saying, and when you do those things, you're actually telling the universe, you're telling this, energy, like, I don't want that. And we don't realize that. We don't realize that our thoughts and the things that we're saying are actually either bringing those things to us or pushing them away. So
that's good. That's really good.
And I used to do that all the time. I'd be like, oh man, because I had those negative thought patterns and I just never realized it. But once I started to learn that and I saw those things, I was like, that means it's coming my way. That means, it's being put in front of me because I truly desire that in my heart. I truly want that in my heart. And God and the universe and whatever is showing this to me as like, I see you, I hear you, I know the desires of your heart. I know what you want. I know you want this. And look, it's possible. So you've written out your positive affirmations. Okay. And the reason why I really love sticky notes is because 2 reasons. They're really easy. So if you carry it with you, like what I started to learn to do was, when I started, like if I was working or just going throughout the day, if I had a negative thought, I would just quickly pick it up and write it. And then I would write something the opposite, like, no, I'm signing easily and consistently 5 customers, just writing that positive affirmation and like, nope, I'm not going to allow that negative thought to get in my head. I'm going to speak something different immediately, because that's how you're going to change it. And so this is here comes the fun part, is once you have these new beliefs written out, you're going to take the old ones and you can either have the most exciting burn party of your life and torch those suckers, or, you can tear them up and shred them, however you want to disintegrate those paradigms and negative beliefs out of your life. It's very important to just get it out and get rid of it. And now,
can I add something else to that? I mean, like, I think we've had this conversation too, and I think that this is a big piece of it too, that maybe you can elaborate on, is like, even not the things that you even think about yourself, but even the negative things that you think about people in your life. Forgiveness and people that are cluttering your mind with negative thoughts about them, things that you're repeating over in your mind of things that maybe how they've hurt you or wounded you. I mean, I think that's a big part of it too, of letting those things go, that they don't hold you captive and in bondage to repeating thoughts and repeating patterns as well. So whatever you're thinking about yourself and even other people, I mean, I would suggest maybe writing those down and burning, laying that down and leaving it and focusing on good things, right?
yes, absolutely. So just to, not to sidestep off of this, but you're 100% accurate. And, when I was doing my inner healing, the very first thing that I ever did was all based around forgiveness. And I did not realize the power that I allowed people to have in my life. And there was a lot of people who hurt me. There was a lot of people who abused me, physical abuse, sexual abuse, being abandoned by my dad. And so it's very detrimental that you forgive others. And I think a lot of times people, they don't realize that forgiveness is not a feeling. We think that forgiveness is a feeling, and we can't forgive people until we feel that they're worthy of this forgiveness, or we feel that they've, redeemed themselves from the things that we've done. But if you believe that way, you're never going to find freedom in your life. You just aren't. And so I'm going to give you guys another really awesome tip. And kind of I'll squeeze this training in there, is you can purpose and choose to forgive somebody. Literally, you just have to say it. I purpose and choose to forgive so-and-so for what they did. Be specific about what they did. I purpose and choose to forgive my husband for leaving his underwear on the floor, or, I purpose and choose to forgive my boss for talking down to me. I purpose and choose to forgive my mom for XYZ that she did to me when I was growing up. And you don't have to tell these people, oh, I forgive you. That's not a part of you finding forgiveness and healing for yourself. And what I found is going through that process. And I actually have a whole process for that, which is a whole other training that we could do. And it is biblically based. So for me, that was a prayer model. So it's, I purpose and choose to forgive so-and-so for doing this. I release them from any debt I feel that they owe me. Holy Spirit, please come and heal my heart and make me whole. And please speak your words of truth to me. And then I listen for the truth.
Good.
And that literally, you guys, that literally changed my life doing that, because I used to suffer really, really badly from panic attacks and anxiety. They were debilitating. I would literally seize up, my hands would not move. My mouth would go numb, my face would go numb. I would literally feel like I was going to die. There was so many times that I had my husband at the time take me to the emergency room because I literally thought I was dying. They were horrible. And when I started to do that that prayer model and started to work through forgiveness, the panic and anxiety went away.
Wow. That's
Yeah.
awesome.
So and now that's something that you can literally just start saying, I purpose and choose to forgive, and bless and release that person, just bless and release them. And mind you, that is something you're going to have to probably do numerous times,
Right.
But the really cool thing is that when you start to do this type of work, you start to see more things. So if you're doing something like that and you're like, oh, I really just hate that person because they did this, that's kind of revealing and showing to you, what, you need to forgive them for that. Or you might have another memory that pops up as you're doing something. You might have a memory of something totally different. And that's essentially being revealed to you where more healing needs to take place, where these deep rooted weeds are growing in your heart and in your mind. So it's really, really powerful to examine, to forgive, to write the truth. Yeah.
Because that's all part of our frequency, how, the energy that we have in the frequency model that we have in this energy, that we're either high energy or low energy, and the lower our energy, the more things, health, and it just plays into such every aspect of our life. So I appreciate you bringing that up. Yeah, this is really good. So
And we also, we'll project those things onto other people. Say your perception is your reflection, right? Whatever you believe to be true about yourself, and become aware of this, because now you're going to see that you're doing it yourself, right? You're going to try to point in other people. Like if there's something going on inside of you, you're going to be like, oh, they do blah, 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 blah. No, really, that's a reflection of you on your inside. That's a reflection of how you feel on the inside.
Right.
We're so quick to make assumptions, to make accusations, to assume that this is what somebody thinks. And half the time it's not even true, but these thought processes, they really control our life. They control our success. They control, whether we achieve the goals that we want to achieve or not, because it's just literally chatter going. And so it's really important to identify, and make changes. And so, I have these burn parties. I do these frequently. And it's something that, like I said, it's a tool in your toolbox. You can do this all the time. You might sit down today and you might do this, and in 2 weeks, you might be like, wait a second, you know what? I'm having these negative thoughts. Perfect. Get out some sticky notes, get out some pen and paper, write out those negative thoughts, write the new belief and affirmation. And then what I like to do is, with those new beliefs, I like to put them where I'm working. Put them in your bathroom. Now when you're going to the bathroom, or when you're sitting there working, you have this new belief that you're forming, and you're looking at it and you're like, that's right. I can do this. I am doing this. And a very, very good example, like you had said, I kind of went from literally nothing. I was a high school, or didn't even go to high school, 8th grade dropout, teen mom. I've lived on my own since I was 14 years old. I didn't start any inner healing until I was 31. When I got my hands on this type of work, on this type of healing, was in 2014. And I started to write those things out. I started to really understand what paradigm meant. I started to see, like, wow, I have some really messed up paradigms. And I just committed to the process. I committed that I'm gonna do this, and I wrote it out, and I spoke it every single day. And it only took literally 2.5 years of me consistently doing that to wildly change my life. I mean, wildly, not just a little bit, but like beyond, for a legacy for my children. Like that work, that consistency for 2.5 years will now leave my children with an entirely different future and legacy,
So take us through that process. Like whenever you started this process, so that's, I mean, it was a 3-year process for you. Like, what did you do? Like give us a framework of what you did daily, right? And the process that you went through. So we know about writing out the negative thoughts, but what was what was a pattern? Give them something to hang on to, like, okay, kind of specifically, what that looked like.
Yeah. So, pattern is number one. It's being consistent in that newness, right? And so, essentially, I wrote down these things. What I also do is I'm very big on writing out gratitude. Okay, and so I write 10 things every day that I'm happy and grateful for.
Okay.
Like this: I'm so happy and grateful now that dot dot dot. So that can be anything. Examples are, and these were my actual affirmations. I'm so happy and grateful now that I'm earning easily and consistently $100,000 a month. I'm so happy and grateful now that I am at my healthiest weight ever. I'm so happy and grateful now that I have retired my spouse from the oil field. Like those were my actual affirmations. A little kind of funny when you really dive into like the manifesting and the speaking and the words. Because I had weight that I needed to lose. And I remember Bob Proctor, who is my mentor and coach, saying, you never want to say I lost 20 pounds because you don't lose anything. When you lose something, you go looking for it. And so just the power of like the words that you write down, they really, truly are so, so powerful. And so I would, that is like a daily, right? 10 things every day that I'm happy and grateful for. I remember there was,
were those things that whenever you said those 10 things, were those 10 things that you said daily, or were there 10 new things, or was there a pattern in those 10 things?
I had 10 things that I wrote daily that like I really wanted to achieve, right? And so they were consistent because that goal was like, I want this to happen. This is what I need to happen. This is what I want to manifest. And so it was those 10 things, the same every single day. And just even throwing in gratitude, like I'm so happy and grateful for my partner. I'm so happy and grateful for my running water. I'm so happy and grateful for the roof over my head, because gratitude opens the door for blessing. And gratitude is a great way for you to change your perspective about life. It's a great way for you to think, there may be no money in the bank, but you can still be grateful for a lot of things. And when you are grateful, you're essentially saying, I want more. When you're negative and your thoughts are negative and you're just, oh, this sucks, I hate this, like you're attracting more of that. You're attracting less money. You're attracting less opportunity in your life. And so gratitude is really, really, really key. 10 things every day. Now, as I started to really get like better at this and started to see like, wow, this is something really powerful.
When did you start seeing, I mean, like, when did you make that shift? Because, sometimes, I mean, people go through the exercises and I know that they're like, okay, this doesn't work, or, you know what I mean? Like that kind of thing. So what was it for you that you started seeing a shift? Or what were the things that you started seeing that made you see a shift or feel a shift? What did that look like for you?
Honestly, it took probably about 2 2 years. I did that for 2 years and I didn't see anything. And I would question, like, what's going on? Like, why is this not working? But during that time, of course, I was still constantly doing personal development and reading books and really trying to understand more of um, uh, like manifesting and just the power of those things, right? Because we can't control the timing of when things happen.
Mm-hmm.
But we just have to know that the process works. And when you start to surround yourself with other people and you see other people who are saying, I did this, it worked, you start to build belief and you start, well, okay, if they did it, if 100 people in this room have done this one thing and it has worked to change their life, then it's going to work for me. There's no reason why it's not. And so it was about 2.5 years, and there was definitely times where I was like, what's going on? Like, what's wrong with me? Why is this not working?
Yeah.
But I just remained consistent with it. And you will just be surprised, like how, God, the universe, whatever you want to call it, like for me, it's God, like how he works in very mysterious ways. And so for me, that was kind of doing it all started with me doing a keto diet, right? And that's kind of how that little door opened, and I was able to essentially have this door open for an opportunity that was like, oh my gosh, should I do this? Like, should I do this opportunity? Like, I was terrified. I was so scared. And you will face that when you set big goals, when you set these things, it's going to be scary. It's not going to be easy and a cakewalk and roses and cupcakes. You're going to face very hard decisions. But you have to trust the process, right? You have to trust that like little gut inner feeling inside of you that's nudging you, that's saying like, take that chance on that new job, or take that chance on starting that company that you've always wanted to do, right? And so for me, that opportunity presented itself, and it was just kind of like nagging me. And I was like, no, I'm over here. Like, I just want to do this. But it kept presenting itself to me. And finally, I was like, I have to do this. I have to do this. And I took that leap. And, that was my golden moment, essentially. I took that leap of faith. And in 5 months, that goal, that dream, that thing that I had been writing for 2.5 years took fruition in 5 months.
Wow.
And so, a lot of people think like, wow, that just happened overnight. No, it didn't. The success was not overnight. The success was very, consistent and painful, because I had a lot of crap I had to get rid of. I had a lot of paradigms and these really negative thought patterns that I really, truly had to work on. But when it started to happen, yes, it exploded so quickly. And so I always tell people, like, it just takes one shift. It just takes you really being on that energetic same wavelength, because it's like looking at a line sheet of paper, right? And your goal is your goal is up at the top, right? And we all start right here. We all start at that bottom piece of the paper. But what ends up happening to us is we'll take a couple steps and we'll be like, oh my gosh, I got this, I can do this. And then somebody will come along and they'll say, oh, you can't really do that. Oh, you're doing that scam? You're doing that scam? Oh my gosh, I can't believe that you've fell prey to this. Or, they'll say something negative. And because we're not strong in our own belief system, and we have these paradigms, we agree with it, we fall right back down to the beginning. And some people never get back up and try again. Some people get back up and try again with a little bit more belief this time, a little bit more support this time, maybe from some friends or, books that they've read. And so it's really just but when you get on that wavelength and you get on that energy and you're speaking the positive and you're speaking it into existence and you're writing it down and you're consistent with it and you're literally like tunnel vision, which is what I had, tunnel vision. I was like, nobody is going to tell me that I'm not going to freaking retire my husband from the oil field. I am going to do this because I'm desperate. I need somebody to help me with these kids. And so when you get into that zone, man, it can happen so quickly.
And so just so for clarification, like this process that you work through, I mean, whenever you say 5 months, I mean, you literally got to that 6 figures a month. And a lot of people may have think that it only took you 5 months, but the reality is it took you it was a 3-year process.
Yeah.
It didn't happen, but it was a consistent process of these things that you're talking about, of you working on you,
Yeah.
doing the work on you, your mindset, the way you thought, the way you spoke, your activity, your daily activity. And I mean, like I've always been taught, whenever you work hard on yourself, the results always come. The harder you work on you, the results always come. So it's not like you just got here overnight. You were willing to put in the work. You were willing to be consistent in the process. You were willing not to give up on you and have understanding to stay focused, to stay consistent, to keep doing it until. And that ultimately for me is the message for the ladies here today is that, again, I mean, yes, I think you're special, but the reality is that if you can do it, right, under the set of circumstances, with the background, with your history and everything that you walk through, with your childhood, and all the negative things that could have held you back, held you captive, that you decided, no, that's not going to be my future. I'm writing a different book. I'm writing a different book for me and for my children. And it really takes that upfront decision. And so that's really the message that I want the ladies to embrace and to hear, that if you can do it, they can do it. If you can walk through this process, they can too. And that's where the magic is. And that's where I want everybody to walk away with this going, feeling empowered, feeling like, okay, it's just a couple of things that if I do consistently in this process and I work on me, what my life can look like. What if let's just say, ladies, what if it took you 3 years to get to where you wanted to be? Would it be worth it? The answer would be yes, right? Would you say the 3-year investment that you took doing this methodology consistently, working on you, do you feel like that it was worth your time and investment?
Oh my gosh, absolutely. I mean, and not just in a financial way, because the financial reward is absolutely amazing. I'm very passionate about helping people, and that just gives me the ability to help more people. To completely show my kids, like, you can go from literally nothing, but in the freedom.
Yes.
That is priceless. The freedom, because if you've ever lived in a mental prison, you know how freaking torturous it is. And it's not fun. It's really, really, really dark and lonely and scary. And so that alone is, like, for me, the golden thing is, like, I don't have to live in a mental prison.
Yeah.
I don't have to walk around in my life, not feeling worthy, not feeling capable. For me, that success is, like, proving to myself, like, oh my gosh, I did this. I can, like, it's overjoying. When I first hit that 6-figure mark, I literally, in fact, I think it's on my Facebook page, like, I was bawling my eyes out. Like, I went live. I was just like, I cannot believe that I did this. Like, it's amazing. It's incredible. It feels really, really good. And I wanted to add, because I know that as women, especially, and if we're married, it's like, we want that support. We want our spouse to believe in us, and sometimes they don't. And that's just the reality. And so I wanted to add that in there for anybody who's watching this or listening and thinking, like, man, I just wish I could do that, but my partner is not on board. My spouse wasn't overtly negative, but he wasn't, like, supportive. He wasn't like, oh, you can do this. When I would say, like, I'm going to retire you, it was like, yeah, right. Like, that's not good. People don't retire from the oil field. That's a good job. Like his family would say those things, and there was a lot of people who were haters who would just kind of snicker and laugh and make fun of me. And there's still a lot of people today who really don't believe that I've had this success. And it's like, okay, So I say that because I know that for me, what I went through for a very long time before I built that strength was like, that would defeat me. That would take me out. And I would stop doing things because I was like, look, nobody supports me. Nobody loves me. Nobody wants to help me. But, you have to help yourself. Right. And you have to determine that you really want this. You have to figure out that, whatever it is that's driving you, that why has to be so big that not even your partner could talk you out of it. It has to, that purpose and that thing that's like pushing you has to mean so much to you that you want it like the air that you breathe. Because if you're just willing to kind of be like, oh my God, I really want it, but oh no, you're going to let anybody talk you out of doing it, then it doesn't really mean that much to you, and you're not going to put in the work to do it. And so you have to really, really find that thing that you want so deeply, so badly, that you don't care what the other people say, whether it's your mother, your brother, your spouse, your best friend, your friends on Facebook. Like, it's not going to matter, because you're going to know, like, this is what I truly want to do. I really, really, really want this, and I'm not going to let anybody stop me.
That's such a powerful statement, and we'll definitely, want it. I mean, this ended on this piece right here, because this piece right here, it's really what you're saying is making the decision. Mm-hmm. And whenever you make the decision, what that really means is that you have the decision. It means cision, like incision. You're cutting away all other options. There's no other options once you decide. You've got the blinders on, you're moving full steam ahead. It doesn't matter what anybody around you says. There's no other options. You're celebrating at the top, or you're dead on the side. That's the way I say it. It's the decision. You do it until. And I love what you're saying, because that really is the kind of mindset and the mind frame that you have to be in whenever you're going through this journey. And so, Sylvia, like, I so appreciate you, sharing this, because such value, especially for those wanting to kick off, 2020, being really on fire, being very intentional with their thought process, being very intentional about their due diligence and working on themselves, their mindset, and taking those paradigm shifts and changing them for the better, right? And being free and setting up a new legacy for you, your future, your family's future. I mean, this could be completely life-changing, the nuggets that you share for those who here are listening and getting the benefit of it. So right. I just agree. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. And also, maybe what I'll do is I'll throw some affirmations in the She Network that people can just kind of play off of, and just kind of end it with, get fun and creative with it. And that's really it, so writing every day is going to be really, really powerful. I do that daily. And those affirmations, you can speak things into existence through those things that you write. And so, do the work of writing out the negative and the positive, but don't just stop with that one positive. Like, keep going, keep speaking it out, keep putting it out there in different variations, different forms, different ways that you write it, because it literally will manifest into your life. It literally will change everything. So
I love it. I love it. Well, thank you so much. I appreciate you so very much. And thank you, ladies, for being on today. I hope you got incredible value. This is going to be the type of training that we're going to have inside the network. We're going to be launching here. Our official launch date now has been set for January 27th. If you still have friends that you haven't invited to come in and take a look around to see everything that we've got going on here, now's the time to do it. Now's the time to bring them in. Now's the time to let them see what this is all about, see what our community is, and to check it out before we get launched here. So Happy New Year to you, Miss Sylvia.
Yeah, you too.
And thank you, ladies. Thank you so much for being on today, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.